welcome back to another episode of Past the Present Podcast. I'm your host, Alan the Great. I want to thank y'all for joining me for another episode for another great show. But before we get to today's show, I need y'all to do me a favor. I need y'all to hit that like button, hit that share button, subscribe to my channel on YouTube, and hit those bells so y'all can get notifications for when new episodes arrive. I know, it seems like a lot of work to do, and I'm asking you for a lot, but please help us move this show up the algorithm so y'all can start to see more shows, more positive input, more shows from the Past the Present Podcast. So if y'all can take care of that for me real quick, I will be forever grateful for you. We got a great show ahead for you. We have a great show for you today. So I don't like cliches. I don't like cliche words or, quick phrases or zingers that people throw out. I have an issue with them. Why I got issue with them, people? Because a lot of times, you don't really understand what they mean when they say it. People tell you stuff, but they don't go into detail, explain exactly what it means. So it's one of those situations that leaves you to wonder and to guess and to assume what somebody's talking about. So for example, okay, because you probably wonder, what exactly am I talking about? For example, you ever heard people say you gotta crawl before you walk? I used to hate that. I used to hate when mom say you gotta crawl before you walk. I used to hate that phrase. Like, what do you mean you gotta crawl before I walk? And I know what she means now. She means that you got to go through some things before you actually become successful. And I get it. But I used to hate that phrase. You got to crawl before you walk. I used to hate phrases like that. Another phrase I hate is when you ask somebody that's been married for a long time, what's one of the biggest advice you can give to a new married person? What advice can you give for longevity in marriage? And people hit you with the word communication. Communication is the best way. Like, okay. So you mean if we yell at each other, we should scream at each other all the time? Because if we do that, then we will have a long marriage, right? So we should communicate like screaming and arguing and yell at each other and throw things at each other. Because that's a form of communication, right? If we scream at each other, it's a form of communication. So when you're telling me to communicate, that's what you're telling me to do. Now, of course, that's not what they mean. But then again, they didn't explain what they mean. So you get where I'm going at with these zingers? But today I want to talk about one important one. When people tell you to not go to bed as a married couple, or it's just a couple in general, don't go to bed angry at each other. You ever heard that one? To all my married people out there, have you ever heard that one? Don't go to bed angry at each other. It sounds good, but what do you do when you had an issue, right? You had an argument, you had disagreement. Let's say disagreement. We're not going to say argument. Let's say you had disagreement with your husband or your wife, right? You had disagreement, got a little heated. Maybe you'll say a few things that you shouldn't have said, you didn't really mean, maybe you did mean, who knows? The point is y'all had disagreement. Now you're angry at each other and it's time to go to bed. What do you do? Because they say you shouldn't go to bed angry. So what should you do in this situation? Should y'all pretend like everything is okay and, kiss each other goodnight and act like everything's okay and just go to sleep and like, okay, we're good. Knowing that it's not. Should you have a conversation before you go to bed? Maybe y'all should talk before you go to bed. Have a general conversation to hash out what happened to cause this argument. Like really hash out, have a conversation about it. Have a constructive conversation about what happened. Is that what they mean? Should you just not go to sleep that night? When they say don't go to bed angry, should y'all just not go to sleep? Because, obviously y'all can't, work out whatever the issue was. This argument or disagreement was heated. Now, you can't work out, y'all can't come to an agreement on this particular subject. But should you just not go to bed? What should we do when you say don't go to bed angry? What am I supposed to do then, people? I'm asking you out here. Because this is one of the zingers that people throw out to you. And they expect you to know, what are you supposed to do in this situation? Let's talk about it, people. Let's dig into this. Don't go to bed angry. And what should we do? First, we have to understand something, people. My advice in this situation, to know your partner, first of all. You have to know your partner. Not just know your partner, but know you. Now, one of the things I was talking about when we're trying to assume what do we do in this situation, do we have a conversation before we go to bed? After a heated disagreement or argument, it's not always best to jump right into another conversation to try to hash out the issue. Now, at some point, you do need to communicate. You do need to talk to your partner and talk about what happened. Talk about what was said, whether it was intentional, whether it was meant to be hurtful, not. It was just a heat of the moment. Wherever the situation is, you have to have a conversation about it so that you can get through this, get past this. Because if you don't, it just lingers. It lingers over your marriage. And like that check engine light that you have on in your car that you've been ignoring for so long, and you think because you put a sticker over it, it's going to go away. Eventually, your car is going to break down if you don't deal with it. Marriage is a lot like that. If you don't deal with the issue, then eventually it's going to become a bigger issue, and it's going to draw a divide in between you two. And eventually, when you look at each other, you're going to be on one side of Grand Canyon, and your wife or your husband is going to be on the other side of Grand Canyon, and y'all going to look at each other wondering why you can't connect, why y'all so distant, why things are so cold, why it just doesn't feel the same no more. Because this issue has lingered because you ignored it. You ignored it so long and just don't want to deal with it that now it just splits you apart. So we know ignoring it is not the way. But should we then talk about it? Should we talk about it that same night? Should we stay up all night and just have a conversation to try to get through this? You got to know your partner. You got to know yourself. And what I mean by that is this. In those situations, a lot of times right after a heated argument, you need time to cool off. You need time to cool off. Your partner needs time to cool off. Cooler heads need to prevail. Now you realize in this disagreement, this argument stemmed from a disagreement that y'all just couldn't find common ground on. Now, in this disagreement, there was disrespectful terms maybe used, there was words used, things said that made it a little more heated. That's not the time to try to hash it out. You need to take some time, take a beat, take a breath, calm down, and allow the sweat to dry up. Then come back and try to have a conversation. So you got to know when and where to have that conversation. You got to have boundaries in your relationship. You got to set boundaries in your relationship to say, hey, listen, we're not going to go to bed angry at each other. We have issues, but tonight's not tonight. This is not the right time to try to figure this out. I love you. I don't like you right now, but I love you. I'm going to go to bed. I think you should go to bed too. And we're going to talk about this tomorrow. That's what we're going to do. It's important to do that, people. It's important to do that. Now, some people, they can, change the gears, and depending on when the argument was, maybe it was earlier in the day when you was at work, maybe it was in the morning before you got your day started. So by the end of the night, maybe you're at a calmer time and you had time to reflect on it, and now you got time to gather your thoughts and you can have this conversation. But the important thing is you have to know. You got to know your partner well enough to know, look, she's still pissed off. When we was eating dinner, now this argument happened at breakfast time, okay? So by now she should be a little bit more calm. But I'm watching her eat dinner, okay? And I'm afraid to eat my dinner because how she looking at me, I don't know, she poisoned me. She's just too damn nice. Fellas, now listen. You have an argument with your wife and you come home, you had an argument with her earlier in the day, you come home and she's cooking you your favorite meal, made you that steak, the green beans, sauteed green beans, those mashed potatoes, some corn on the cob, that's your favorite drink. She all common stuff. Listen, and she's serving this up, and this argument earlier got a little heated, okay? Here's some advice to you. Be very careful. Be very careful because this might be your last day on earth. This may just be your last day on earth because she might be ready to take you out. your wife might be planning on taking you out. Okay, she might have poisoned that steak. That you probably shouldn't eat it. Ask her to drink the wine before you drink it. Ask her to taste the food to make sure it tastes good to her first. And if she ain't willing to eat the food, you probably shouldn't eat it either. She about to take you out. She ain't forget, okay? Because women don't forget as fast as we do. They got memories like a damn elephant. They ain't forgetting what you said. And they a little more patient with their revenge than we are. Okay, they're patient. They play a long game. Women gonna play a long game with you. All right. So just for my fellas out there, my married men, I ain't saying you don't know this, but in case somebody didn't tell you, you might want to just let things calm down a little bit. Might want to go to McDonald's. Get something to eat that night. Just tell her it's okay, babe. You ain't gotta cook. For a week or two. But that's not important to what we're talking about here. But it's very important to have a conversation. So sometimes just knowing the boundaries and knowing your wife or your husband, just knowing that you have to give them time to calm down, time to collect their thoughts before you have that conversation. So sometimes even though the conversation, the disagreement happened earlier in the day, even at night it might still not be that time to have that conversation. So you have to have this type of conversation with her. I love you. I love you. You might not like me. I might not like you, but I love you. And understand something, people. That's another thing. Understand something. You're not always going to like your husband. You're not always going to like your wife. My wife don't always like me, and for good reason. I do little things that mess with her, I'll intentionally do little things to just mess with her, just little things. I know she don't like me mess with her ear, so just randomly I'll mess with her ear. Randomly, I know she's ticklish, so she can be just sitting there watching a movie on her phone, and I'll just do little things just to poke her because it's just having fun, and that's what I do. So I know times I don't like her. I know times I piss her off, and I'm not her favorite person. But at the end of the day, I know my wife loves me. Despite it all, she loves me. And it's the same. Sometimes my wife pisses me off, okay? And sometimes your wife pisses you off. Like little things, fellas. Little things our wife do. Like, when we go get food, we go get takeout. We always ask our wives, do they want something, right? And they always tell us the same thing. No, we don't want them. And we always try to confirm it with them, right? We be like, yo, you sure you don't want no food? Because I know, when I get home with these chicken wings, you're going to want some. So you sure you don't want me to get you your own chicken wings? Nah, I'm good. I don't want no chicken wings. So we go and get the chicken wings, and we come home, and we've been thinking about these chicken wings all week, and we're going to sit down in front of the TV. We're going to watch March Madness, college football, the NFL, the NBA. We're going to watch our game, watch the TV program, and we're going to eat our chicken wings. Next thing you know, your wife starts slowly, creeping a little closer to you. And she knows she's, putting, starting to prepare herself to eat. And you just looking like, okay, where is your food? I mean, I don't smell nothing. You smell anything? I don't smell anything. Interesting. Maybe, she got a sandwich or something. And she's not going back in the kitchen. And she's looking close to your food. And she has her own plate now, but the interesting thing about her plate is it's empty. And you're looking like, okay, she got an empty plate. I don't know what kind of psychology games or psychological game she's playing right now, but I know that I asked her, did she want something when I went to the store? And just to confirm it, because women like to play a game that they said something or they told us something and we just didn't remember, I actually sent her a text message to get a confirmation receipt. Then I asked her, did she want something from the store? And she said, no, she's not hungry. So again, I'm confused on why she's going to get close to my chicken. Okay? Next thing you know, she's starting to reach and take a chicken wing off your plate. Okay, fellas? Now, depending on how long you've been in this relationship, if you're new to the relationship, it's not that big of a deal. Now, I've been with my wife for almost 20 years. Been married, will be 15 years in July. Thank you very much. I don't know what she's doing with her life. I appreciate it. I don't know if she's doing her life to stay with me as long as she did, but you know what? God bless her for staying with somebody like me as long as she did. She probably could have made better choices for her life instead of staying with me. But that's not the point. So the point is, if you're new in your relationship, then you're okay with your wife taking your food. But if you've been married as long as I have been with my wife, almost 15 years, been with her almost 20 years, taking one of my chicken wings after I asked her, did she want something, will turn into a whole full-blown drag-out argument, okay? It's going to be an issue that's going to make it the rest of the day, very complicated. It's going to challenge the going to bed angry because now she took my chicken wing. I asked you, did you want? Look, people, I got my phone right here. I got the receipt saying that she didn't want no damn chicken. But it doesn't stop her wives from doing it. Long story short, because I just took the scenic route to get to my point, is that sometimes our wives even do things that make us not like them. Like taking our food after they say they didn't want nothing. But despite that, I still love my wife. I love my wife even though she keeps trying to eat off my plate. Okay? And she didn't want no chicken, but she eat my chicken. I still love her. So when you go to bed and you're angry at each other for whatever reason, whether it's over some chicken, you watch the TV show or she watched the TV show that y'all was supposed to binge watch before you, whatever the issue, whether you argue about kids, work, bills, who was supposed to wash the dishes, who was supposed to do the laundry, who was supposed to pay the mortgage, whatever the issue is, understand something to go to bed. Try to remember, people, because they tell you the cliche is, don't go to bed angry. Remember that whatever the situation is, it's minor. And remember to still remember this, that despite the fact that you might not like your wife at this particular time, you might not like your husband at this particular time, you still love them. And now this is where it's going to get real dark, and we're going to take a dark turn on the show. We never know when our clock is going to run out. And you don't want the last memory, the last conversation you had with somebody being of something petty you argued over. And I didn't tell you I love you, ending our last conversation with I love you, because I'm thinking about something petty like you took a chicken wing off my plate, or you watched the show, or you forgot to wash the dishes, or you forgot to pick up milk, or you forgot to send a check to a mortgage company. Something that can be fixed, something that's so minor being that lasting memory. You don't want that to be the lasting memory. So remember, you might not like them in that moment. You might not like them. We have moments where we don't like each other. But remember, you still love them. So before you go to bed angry at each other, let them know that you still love them. And that this conversation, God willing, if we see tomorrow, we can have this conversation tomorrow when cooler heads prevail, when we're on common ground where we can either choose to agree to disagree or to see the error in my ways or the error in your ways and find a common solution to whatever the problem is. Don't avoid the conversation after an argument, after a disagreement, after an issue. Don't avoid it, okay? Make time to resolve this, because unresolved issues become bigger issues. Something small can turn to something big if it's left to fester. It'll become something big. And it'll start off with something small, and they'll become the thing that trips you up to cause you to rethink your whole relationship with somebody you promised your life with. We think back in marriage, one of the things a lot of people don't tell you before you get married, if you, of course, didn't have marriage counseling, or, you didn't talk to somebody that truly knows about marriage, or maybe you just talk to somebody that lies a lot, this pathological liar that will tell you that marriage is good, it's fun. Or you may have talked to a man who's, secretly holding up a sign saying help because he feels like he's being held hostage in his relationship. And, that guy is the guy that's sitting around and he's like telling you, my wife is great, even when she's not around. You ever had that guy? My wife is great. My wife loves Chick-fil-A. Me and my wife have a great marriage. You're like, well, what the fuck? I didn't ask you anything about your wife. Yeah, my wife likes sunsets too. Bro, what the fuck is going on? Excuse my language. You like, what the hell's going on, bro? You all right? Because you keep talking about your wife, and we talking about the basketball game. Yeah, my wife used to play basketball in high school, bro. If you say one more thing about your damn, listen, you all right? Help that guy, okay? Help that guy, because that guy is in a marriage where he's being abused. He's being held hostage. So if you ever see a guy that just randomly just brings up his wife and just out of nowhere, nobody asked about her, you might want to. That guy is secretly holding a sign saying "Help." He's holding up a sign and he said, "Help me, please help me." But besides that that guy, a lot of people lie to us and they tell us that marriage is supposed to be this great thing, but marriage is hard. People, let me tell you something. Again, I've been married almost 15 years. I love my wife. I mean, she is the greatest thing that ever happened to me. And I'm not just saying it, she really is. We have our rough times, we have our good times, we have our bad moments, but we work through them all. We work through them. But it's hard. Marriage is a fight. Every day it's a fight. You got to fight through you changing, her changing, your body changing. You got to work through your finances changing, whether it's they're going up or going down. You got to go through the changes in your health. When you married, your health was top tier. But you're getting older, you start to have problems. Your feet hurting all the time, your back hurting. You can't do certain things. You get sick. You need somebody to you need her to wipe your butt, or she needs you to wipe her, bath her. She got bath you. Sometimes our finances go up. It's like, what's that old Biggie song? More money, more problems. Where a lot of times people think when their money goes up that, all your problems go away. And sometimes it causes issues because your wife making more money than you. So you start feeling insecure, or you start making more money and your ego starts to get too big. So it causes issues in your relationship. Sometimes you're used to a certain way of living and having a certain amount of money. And now you're at this place where you ain't making that money no more. So then that becomes an issue because, look, I can't provide you a certain lifestyle no more. We got to make adjustments. But your wife or your husband's not used to these adjustments and don't want to make them. So that becomes an issue. So that becomes a fight. And you got to fight through all these different things. You might met your wife and when you met her, she was a size 2. And now she's a size 18 or size 20 because she got comfortable, maybe stress, having kids, whatever it may be, has caused her to gain weight. Or you met your husband and he was wearing a size 30, jeans, and now he on a size 46, with a pot belly going on. He had 6-pack when you met him, but now you got the pot belly. So, you man when you had that, and now you got the pot belly going on. So it's changing, and it causes issues, and you have to learn to deal with these changes, and it's a fight to fight through these changes. And sometimes you're going to bed every night angry at each other because you're trying to fight through these changes and you're tired and you don't know how to fight through these changes. A lot of people don't understand it. Do you know what the divorce rate is? The divorce rate in this country is around 50% for first-time marriages. 50%, people. That means 50% of people right now who are out there getting married. So if 10 people right now are getting married this month, 5 of those couples are going to get divorced. That's scary. And the rate is higher. And you want to know the more interesting part? The more interesting part is that people who have been married multiple times, the divorce rate is even higher than that. Yeah, it's even higher. So when you think about 50% is the divorce rate for first-time marriages, and could you imagine what it is for people who are married before if it's higher? We're talking about 55, 60%. It's crazy, people. And a lot of times it's because when we get into marriages, we're not ready to fight for our marriage. And when things get difficult, we look for the front door. We start looking for the front door and we're like, yo, I'm getting the hell out of here. Things is getting tough. Things is getting difficult. Ain't nobody tell me that it's going to be like this. I'm getting the hell out of here. I'm running for the front door. Gotta go. This ain't working. But you forget you're not dating this woman. You're not dating this man no more. You start forgetting about the vows. What's the vows they tell us, people? We're going to just break down a few of the vows they tell us, right? When you get married, what's the vows they tell you? They tell you repeat these vows, right? If you didn't write your own vows, they say for better or worse, right? For sicker or poor. For richer or poor. For sicker or health. So then you die. These are the vows, right? Let's break them down, people. Think about these vows, okay? For better or worse. That means when things are doing great, you got to fight through that marriage. You're going to fight through that marriage to keep things going great. When things are not going so well and y'all can't agree, y'all are disagreeing about everything, everything's an argument. You arguing about who forgot to put the top back on toothpaste, who ate the chicken. Little things like you forgot you drunk too much of orange juice and you didn't throw away a carton and only left a swallow. Little things start to become big things. You got to fight through those big things. That's what them vows mean. When they talk about for richer or poor, they mean richer or poor. That means when you get, more money and you as our fellas, your ego starts to get bigger. You got to fight through that ego. You got to check yourself at the door. You got to check that ego so that you don't make your wife feel uncomfortable. When your wife making more money, you got to check that ego so that you're not starting to that become a issue that keeps lingering and causing you to get divorced. You got to ignore the outside noise, because the outside noise, they'll tell you, fellas, your wife make more money than you. Oh man, you the woman now. You the woman in the house. And it starts to play on your ego, because the outside noise starts to play on your ego, and for richer or poor starts to go out the door, because now you're sitting there listening to the outside people who are telling you you're not a man because your wife is making more money than you. You gotta fight through that. You gotta fight. In marriage, it's all about fighting, and not fighting with each other. It's about fighting to keep this marriage alive. You gotta fight. Sicker or health. Listen, you might get sick. We don't know what's going to happen. You might fall and hurt yourself. Next thing you know, you got some kind of disease. Your wife got some kind of disease. You might need her to take care of you. She might need you to take care of her. You don't know what's going to happen. We can't always predict when things go wrong, and I get it. Marriage is easy when everything is going right. When everything's going right, no issues, no arguments, everything going right, marriage is great. But when the tough times come, when the challenging times come, that's when you're going to find out who you're really married to. That's when you're going to find out how strong your marriage is. It's not the good times, people. It's not the good times. It's not the times when everything look lovely, y'all on vacation, y'all popping bottles, y'all out to dinner every day, y'all loving each other, and y'all make the other couple sick because y'all love each other up and all that, you know what I'm saying?
I love it. You guys are so great.
But it's really not, because it's not those times that the marriage is going to be, so great. It's not those times you're going to know what you're married to, because at those times, I'm married to my best friend. I'm married to my best friend. She's so amazing. Oh my God, she's the coolest girl ever. She watches sports with me. She sits there and she tailgates with me. She loves the same action movies as me. But she's so cool. And then she always makes my favorite meals. She's just so incredible. And that's not the times when the marriage is great. That's not when you know who you're married to. I know you feel like, this is it right here. She's so, man, bruh, you got to get your wife like this. But you don't know until things get difficult. Because it's easy to stay with somebody when things get good. But what about when it gets hard? What about when you got to have those conversations? Those conversations you don't want to have. Because we all have those conversations. We all have those spots that we just don't want to touch. We have those no-fly zones in our marriage, whether it's talking about our moms, our dads, our aunts, got kids from a previous marriage. There's those no-fly zones in the marriage that you just don't want to touch. You have those soft spots in the marriage where, I just don't want to have a conversation about certain things. I'd rather not have a conversation. I'm just not a good conversationist. I don't like having conversations. I don't communicate well. And when they talk about not going to sleep and going to bed angry, they're talking about being able to look past learning the individual that you're married to find a way to communicate, to remind each other that I love you, you love me. That in marriage, we're not always going to like each other. And that's something we have to learn. That's something we have to respect. And something we have to understand. We're not always going to like each other, but it's important to remind each other and remind ourselves that I love you. Remind yourself why you took those vows. Remind yourself why you chose to spend the rest of your life with this woman. And remember to tell them, yo, I love you. I'm not going to bed mad at you. We ain't got to talk about this tonight. Tomorrow, the day after, we're going to have this conversation, but we're going to come at it in a way that we're respectful, and we're not going to continue to engage in this type of toxic argument. We're not going to engage in me being right and you being wrong. There's a saying somebody once said to me: you rather be right or you rather be together. And sometimes in marriage, and majority of times in marriage, you gotta learn to compromise. You gotta learn when you're going to hold your ground and when you're going to give some ground, because it can't be always one side winning. You have to learn to give and take in marriage. I had to learn that. I had to learn to communicate. And that's an interesting thing for me, because I'm going to explain something to y'all. Take a quick side note real quick to share something with y'all. I got humbled twice in my life, okay, people? I got humbled twice in my life. Probably more, but I'm only going to share it with you two. I want to share it with you two. First time I got humbled, I was in college, okay? I had a public speaking class. And in the public speaking class, it was my first class, and the teacher said, or the professor said, okay, I want somebody to get up, and I want you to talk about a subject of your choice. So, of course, me, you know, I didn't play basketball most of my life in front of large crowds. I have no issue with speaking in front of a large crowd to this day. It don't make me nervous. I'm at home. I'm chilling in my recliner, watching my favorite show when you put me in front of a large crowd. I'm good. So, of course, me, I get up, chest all poked out, go stand in front of the class. I'm ready to go talk. I'm ready to get into this. I'm ready to show this teacher what I got. She gonna give me an A after this, and I'm just gonna have to go home. And I ain't gonna never have to come back because I'm that good. I'm good, people. That's what I thought. Let me tell you how I got humbled, then we're gonna go back to how this relates to the story, okay? So I get up there and I start talking about the subject, and I'm like, blah, 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 blah. She stopped me. She asked me a question. She said, how did we know you were expert at this? So I'm like, huh? You didn't tell us, you didn't introduce yourself and tell us why we should listen to you. So I'm like, okay. Okay, try again. All right, well, I'm such and such, and, you know, this is why I'm an expert. Stop. What's the title of what you're talking to us about? Now, as I'm sitting there, she keeps stopping me, and this happened multiple times. My chest, which I told y'all was poked out. I'm like walking out like I'm the Incredible Hulk. I'm just, you know, my chest is poked all the way out. My chest is starting to be like a balloon, and you just slowly let the air out. It's going, I'm not going to hear the air going out of my chest, and I'm slowly. So by the time she was done, I ain't had no air in my chest. I ain't had no pep in my step. I walked down with my shoulders slumped, my head down. I was walking, looking at my feet. I don't even think I seen nobody when I got back to my seat. I was truly humbled because I thought my arrogance made me think that I was better than I actually was. It humbled. The second time I was humbled, people, and this is where we take it back to a relationship. I was on a internet show, the Miss Kim Jacobs show. Shameless plug. Shameless plug. I was on the Kim Jacobs show, and like I do for every show, including this one, or if I'm ever being interviewed on a show, one of the things I do is I like to do my prep work, people. So that means I will go and I will look up, you know, the show to see what kind of show am I getting on to, what kind of questions they usually ask, you know, what's the type of vibe on the show, trying to get myself prepared, because I like to be prepared before I step on anybody's show. As much as possible, I like to be prepared. So in this particular show I was looking up, getting prepared, there was this guy that was talking on the show, and he was an expert at communication. right? He says expert at communication. So I'm watching the show, and the gentleman says to Miss Kim Jacobs on her show, most people think they're great communicators, but they're really not. So of course, once again, here's me with my chest poked out. Now I didn't went to college for communications and marketing. I didn't took other college courses about communications. I got certificates in communication. I mean, I'm well decorated in communication, people. Like, if you look at the words I got for communication, I'm the guy when it comes to communication, right? So I'm like, he ain't talking to me. I'm good at communicating. I'm good at communicating. Like, yeah, I'm great. People tell me I'm a great listener. People tell me I'm a great communicator. So I'm sitting there like, I'm good. I don't really need to listen to this. But something was saying, just continue to listen. So then the gentleman explained why we're not great communicators in relationships. So he then went on to say how we hold back on saying what we truly feel because we're worried about what the person we're talking to is going to feel, how they're going to feel. So we don't tell them the truth. We don't communicate our true feelings. We sometimes stop from talking or communicating things because we're worried about hurting the other person's feelings. And because we're so concerned with how somebody feel or how somebody's going to take what we're saying, we become not so great communicators. Yeah. It was a very awkward moment. Because it was at that moment I realized something, people. I'm not a great communicator. Because sometimes when I'm having a conversation with my wife, when I'm having talks with my wife, sometimes things get to a point where I'm uncomfortable speaking how I feel. So I notice at those times I tend to draw back in my shell and be silent. And in that moment, I realized that, I'm not a great communicator. I need to improve my communication with my wife so that I don't go to bed angry and she don't. I realized that I need to be better. So what I started doing was like, hey, we're going to talk. I know that it may not be comfortable for you to have this conversation. It may not be comfortable for me to have this conversation. I'm going to listen. I'm going to express how I feel respectfully as possible. And I'm going to say it and understand that my intentions on what I'm saying is not to be rude, disrespectful, but to speak how I feel. And I'm going to understand walking into this conversation that I'm going to be respectful, that understand when you communicate with me, that you're coming from a place of love and expressing how you feel. And I'm going to respect how you feel so that we can become better communicators. But it's not just with my wife I had to be better. I had to be a better communicator with overall all people, friends, family, all people. Learn to talk and express how I feel. And understand that people are not always going to take it, are not going to be always accepting to what I have to say. There's some people don't want to hear what I got to say, but it's important to communicate my feelings because if I don't, we go back to the beginning. Then my feelings start to linger. I'm neglecting how I feel. And if I'm neglecting how I feel, then eventually that's just going to simmer. And if you ever put a pot of water on the stove, you boil water or boil rice or you boil noodles or something, what happens when you just leave that boiling water on the stove? It starts to boil over eventually, right? It starts to, bubble up, then it starts to boil, then eventually it starts to boil over. And leave it long enough, it stops boiling over and the water starts to evaporate. So when it starts to evaporate, now you become a shell of yourself. And it's not a form of even communication. It's not even going to matter. We're well beyond the form of communication because there's just nothing there anymore. The relationship is just dead because like that pot of water that boiled over, there's nothing left there. There's nothing to put noodles in. There's nothing to strain. The water's gone. The noodles are burned. The pot is destroyed. The relationship is over because we let it linger to the point where it just boiled over, people. We have to learn to communicate and discuss our feelings. It's going to be uncomfortable. We're not going to feel up to it. But we got to be willing to talk to each other and find the time where we're going to communicate with each other, to express how we feel. Not just for your partner, but for yourself. Because what you don't want to become in a relationship, in a marriage, is a shell of yourself. Become hollowed out where there's nothing left there for you. Your relationship don't want to become shallowed out where it's hollow, where there's nothing left in your relationship, where love just don't live there no more, and y'all just walking around each other, trying to avoid each other, not even seeing each other no more. It's not a place where y'all just don't like each other no more. It's a place that it's just not love there no more. And once it becomes a place where love is just not there no more, then at that point the relationship is just over. 50% people. I don't want to see that for you. I don't want to see that for me. I'm a type of guy that I love rom-coms. I love love, okay? I love seeing people in love. I love seeing people happy. I'm that guy, okay? No matter or worse, I'm that guy. I like to see people happy. I like to see people in long marriages. I love seeing old couples and people who have been together their whole life getting old together, wrinkled together, sitting on the porch, and having their little arguments and stuff. Because when people get older, they just have arguments over everything. You know what I mean? You just be talking. Us dudes, we just talk stuff to our wife when we get older. We talk all kinds of crap. You know what I mean? Just to get on their nerves. But I love that. Just seeing an old couple at the park, just staring at the water, still in love, still hugged up like they're 14, and they're still in love like it's puppy love, like they just met. I love that. And I want that for everybody. But in order to get that, we got to fight through those moments in between the moments where we love each other. We got to fight through it. We got to communicate through it. We got to learn to just remind ourselves that even though we're going to bed, we're angry at each other and we're not liking each other, to remind each other that we still love each other. A lot of us don't come from healthy relationships, meaning our household, there was not healthy relationships. But there's plenty of examples out here, and there's an example out here somewhere, people, when you have to reach for it, of someone who has a healthy relationship. And you need to find a way to mirror that relationship. Not the one where, you're seeing your mother and father fighting and arguing all the time. Find a way to mirror that relationship where you can find that happiness, that love. Because it's there and somebody has it. Find it. When people say don't go to bed angry, what they're trying to tell you is ultimately to remember that even though you don't like this person, you don't like your husband, you don't like your wife at this moment, you still love them. And don't ever forget to tell them that. Because one thing I learned about life and all the loss that I've seen that me and my family have experienced over the years, just never know when that day is going to come where this will be the last time you have to say goodbye to someone. Not say goodbye because they're going to work, going to school, they're going to the grocery store, but this is goodbye. I won't be able to hug you no more. I won't be able to kiss you and I love you no more. I'm sorry if I make somebody out there emotional with saying this, but remember, even in those times when your wife steals your chicken wings and she pisses you off and you just want to pop her across her head with, some barbecue sauce, put barbecue sauce, put it in front of her head. I'm sorry, don't do domestic violence, people. Don't do domestic violence, but you know what I mean, brothers. You know what I mean. You just want to take the chicken wings and just go eat them somewhere else. Just put a small TV in the bathroom, lock the door, eat the chicken wings, and be cussing her out at the same time. Like, she is something else. Damn well she ain't want these chicken wings. I asked her, I held my phone up. She is something else. And she got an attitude because I didn't want her to eat my chicken wings. She's something else. But you got to remember, though, this is your best friend right here, fellas. This is your best friend. This is your life partner. This is your soulmate. Share them chicken wings with her. I know you've been married a long time. I know she said she didn't want nothing. But is this worth being angry about? I know, you only got a 12 piece and you really can eat a 24 and now she gonna eat 60 or 12 piece. So now you down to a quarter of about the chicken wings you would typically eat. But you know what? Sometimes we just gotta make those sacrifices. Sometimes we just gotta make those sacrifices, fellas. Just go ahead and give her the chicken wing, man. Just go ahead and give them to her, you know? Just do it. Just anticipate it in the future. You know that she's gonna ask for them. Just have another 12 piece on the side. You know, just order an extra 12 piece on the side, just to have them by the side, because you know she's gonna ask for them, even though she says she don't want them. You know she's gonna ask for them. So when she pull her plate out, you know, you can be the gentleman. You can be, you know, the hero of the situation. You can make her feel like, yo, man, it's the perfect man. Like, he just gave me my wings, gave me his wings. I know he was starving, he was hungry. He been talking about his wings all week. And he just gave me all 12 of them. And she feeling good for the moment, because you know what, babe, here, you know, you can have all of them. No, take all the wings, because you know you got a secret stash of 12 more in the kitchen. See, fellas, you gotta think, fellas, you gotta think. You got the secret stash in the kitchen, so you know you pull that secret stash out. Now she look at you crazy, but you was prepared for it. But seriously though, in all seriousness, people, you know, there's not too many things in a relationship that's worth lingering and ending your relationship over. I mean, of course, there's divorce, there's cheating, you know, there is moments where, you know, someone can violate your trust. But if it's over something that you can have a conversation about, have that conversation. My advice would be is, before you choose to go to bed angry with each other, to remind yourself that even though in the moment you don't like this person, that I love this person. Have a plan, even if you don't share it with your significant other at the time, where y'all are going to revisit this argument at a later date, but not too later. Sooner rather than later. So maybe the next day, once everything calmed down. Maybe the next night when everything calmed down, cooler heads prevailed, sweat dried up. Make a plan to revisit this conversation so it doesn't linger. Have these conversations. These are the things that you have to do. Remember in marriage that it's not always going to be glitter and butterflies and happy times. It's not a rom-com movie where in the end, you know, they happily ever after and everything's great. In a marriage, to continually have longevity, it's a little bit more to communication. You got to be willing to fight. Fight for your marriage. Fight for the love. Fight to keep that flame burning hot for each other. Fight every single day for the person that you dedicate your life to. Don't go to bed angry. Don't carry things around with you. Communicate, talk about it. Don't allow it to become something that divides you. That's my advice to you people, for what it's worth. That's my 2 cents of advice for whatever it's worth. I've been only married 15 years. I don't know nothing. You know, I've been with my wife almost 20 years. I don't know nothing, people. But if I did know something, that's what I would say. Fight every day for your wedding, for your wife, for your husband. Love them. Love on them. Love on them, because you never know when you wish you could just give them one more hug, one more kiss. When you could just smack them up on the side of the head one more time, or you could steal one more wing off their plate. Or when they watch TV, turn the channel on them. Or, you know, just poke at your wife and just keep messing with you. You just never know when that moment is going to come that you can't do it. So take the time to have more great memories. Make more great memories. Cherish the great moments. And just take the time to resolve the not so great ones. It's a fight. But you can do it, people. We're not going to focus on what the numbers currently are. We're going to focus on, if we put the work in, what we can turn them numbers to. That's what we're going to do, people. But that's what we're going to do. I want to thank y'all for joining me for another episode of Past the Present Podcast. Remember again, people, as we started this with, remember to like the show. It don't cost you no money. It's okay. Nobody's going to know you like it. We're very secretive around here. Remember to hit that subscribe button. But also remember to ring those bells so that you can see and get notifications for new episodes are released. You don't want to miss the new episodes. You want to be the last person to know about it. You don't want your husband to watch the show before you and be like, man, you did hear what Alan said? Or your wife to watch the show before you and she's like, yo, you ain't hear what Alan said? You need to hear that one. You want to be notified so you can get the edge. You know what I'm saying? You can get the edge in your relationship on, the information that's out here that I'm trying to provide, about the hiding the wings and having that 12 wing on tuck. You want to get that information. So make sure you hit them bells so you can get that. Also, remember to comment, people. I love to hear from y'all. I love to hear your opinion, whether you agree with me, disagree with me, or you want to just add something to the conversation. I love to talk to y'all. So please comment below and let me know what your thoughts are on today's show. Check out previous shows. I got over 100 episodes, maybe two. I don't know how many episodes I got. Check them out. It's something for you on here, people. Even if you don't like this show, check it out. Also, remember to share this episode. If you're not married, you're not in a relationship. Sorry, people. If you're still waiting for your happily ever after, share this show with somebody else that may need to hear it, because even though you ain't married yet and you still waiting for that right man or right woman to come in your life, share it with somebody might need this information. Most importantly, people, I just want to thank y'all, and I love y'all, for being part of this show and just going on this journey with me. I love you guys, You guys
I love
are
it.
awesome.
You guys are so great.
It's all delayed. Like, what the hell's going on today? Anyway, thank y'all again. And until next time, people, I only got a few things left to say, y'all. Stay woke, stay focused, but most importantly, stay tuned. Peace.